It's on the day. We're live. Welcome again to 30 with Karen and Justin and Karen. Karen's maybe not here, maybe here. Maybe she'll show up today. This is great. So she's actually incredible. We're all incredibly busy, so that's why she's sometimes here and sometimes not. So I'm super excited today. We have a great guest. We have Serena Bufalino, a teacher, humanitarian, spiritual leader, and really the heart behind the Help Heal Humanity campaign organization. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for having me here
It's
today.
really lovely to get on and be greeted with a wonderfully beautiful smile like yours. You have a huge
Yeah,
smile and I can see it. You're happy today.
happy every day.
Very
Even
good.
in that's part of the skill. Like to be happy, to choose to be happy, to be okay when you're not okay, and get through this thing called life that is sometimes very challenging.
There have been some challenges. Yes, we can all attest to that for sure. And that said, in the last few episodes of this that we've had, there's been a couple of moments where I've said, why isn't this just normal? Why isn't just happiness and kindness just the thing that we always all do? But for some reason, it just isn't, unfortunately.
You're so right on that. I remember a few years ago I was getting nominated for certain awards and I was thinking to myself like, thank you, but this is kind of ridiculous because I should not be recognized for
Yeah,
being kind to people,
yeah,
to help people. That exactly like you should. That should be normal everyday
yeah.
behavior.
Being kind should be the default setting, and then we go from there. So let's start with the main mission or goal of the Help Heal Humanity.
Okay, so Help Heal Humanity started organically in my classroom, teaching some of the most vulnerable youth in the city of Toronto.
Mm,
And over the years, it's kind of, pivoted and shifted based on what is happening in the world. But its number one focus is empowering vulnerable communities through education, health, and healing.
mm, that's really cool. That's really cool. So we cut out there for a second. There was a bit of a blip. I'm sorry about that. No, so education, help, and healing. So what are do you have a specific criteria for the groups or communities that you focus on?
So I am a special education specialist.
Mhm.
I'm a high school teacher, and I work primarily with students who are kicked out of mainstream high school or not even able to function in alternative education. The majority of my career were working with youth that were, my first teaching job was in jail, so one of the largest young offender facilities in actually Oakville,
Mm,
Ontario. And then from closed custody, I moved to open custody. Then I went to group homes, and then I went to mental health hospitals. So my career was always working with students, marginalized youth, students who had both learning disabilities, mental health challenges, physical disabilities. And I would get them in my classroom,
mhm.
and I for a maximum of 2 years. And my goal was to try to reintegrate them into society. And so I did that the non alternative way, so to speak. So what we did was we focused more on life skills, social skills, going out into the community and volunteering so that
Mm,
they by doing. So instead of reading a textbooks and theories, they actually immerse themselves into the community so they could learn by doing. So life skills again, how to communicate with people, how to have a good vocabulary to speak, openly, choosing the right words. Most of my students, society had turned them away,
mm,
right? So they were never valued, they were never wanted, they were never respected. And because of the circumstances in which they were born into,
mm.
they were doing all they knew how to do,
Right,
right?
right.
So I think that's what most of the world forgets is, you know, I didn't just end up here out of nowhere. I worked extremely tough to be here,
Mm,
right? And same with people who are facing challenges in life, mental health, what is it, poverty, homelessness, whatever it may be. They didn't just arrive there. The circumstances surrounding their lives, the systems around them, the people around them, it influenced them, their decisions, their life choices. And if you are not being properly influenced, if you're not given, you know, the tools to succeed, if normal for you is inappropriate touching, biting, punching, screaming, if that's what you think normal is, then you're going to go into society and you're going to do what you think is normal,
I
right?
was I was just watching the documentary for the Katrina disaster, and it just came out on Netflix. And one of the things that struck me was a lot of the people that stuck around there that didn't want to leave were people that had been there for generations and had not really seen major storms over the years. They had a couple, but their general the general idea of what storms were for them was they hunkered down, it blew over, and that was the end of it. And they believed that this was going to be the same thing, no matter what anybody was trying to tell them. That was what was in their head as their based on their previous experiences. And boy, were they wrong, of course. And I think the same kind of is true with what you're telling me here is that these folks, these young people are brought up in these scenarios that aren't necessarily the best case scenario for them. They're taught a certain way. They learn certain like you said, vocabulary is huge, right? They learn a way of speaking, and that sets them down the wrong path. But that's all they know. So they need that course correction to go. Hang on, there's another way here,
Yeah.
and
And
that's where you step in.
that's it. And it's vulnerability, it's acceptance. You know, like I'll be like if I'm teaching in jail or if I'm teaching, you know, in an environment in which, you know, the kids have been kicked out of school. Well, let's be real. Clearly, whatever you are doing in this moment is not really working out.
Mm, mm,
So you can point the fingers, you can blame whomever you want to blame, but the reality is it's happening in your life. And my job, like I love my job. I am so dedicated and so loyal to my job. I'm like, and my job is over the next year, 2 years, is to show you a different way, to teach you, you know, and it's funny because, you know, again, it starts with, you know, always mental health. What are you thinking? What are you saying? What are the narratives in your mind? And, you know, when I start to teach them these skills, like how to think differently, how to speak differently, how to act differently. The kids, I call them the kids, they look at me as if I'm stupid. Like, Miss B, nobody talks like that. Or Miss B, nobody acts like that. Or like, and I'm like, well, actually, the majority of people do. And once this becomes normal behavior for you, and I promise you, if we continue to work on this daily,
mm,
and that's what it is. It's setting up daily routines,
mm.
structure, you know, putting them in the environment, letting them experience it. And then after, you know, repeating the pattern many times, you know, it becomes second nature. So it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful feel good story about how some of the most vulnerable youth in the city of Toronto stepped up, and and me trying to teach them how to heal themselves, we not only healed ourselves, but we healed the city of Toronto and then went beyond to Haiti.
Well,
So
and our future is the children, right? So the young people growing up, I mean, we need to give them all the best opportunities we can. Interestingly enough, I've heard recently there's been a rash around Burlington anyway of robberies and jewelry stores and things like that. And a lot of times what they're doing is they're using young folks. How much of an issue is the influence of adults on these young people to do these things? Because the reason why I'm hearing they're using young folks to do this stuff is because the young folks will go to prison or what is considered jail for young youth offenders and be out in no time at all and back on the street doing the same thing. And so they just keep pumping these people out there, these kids out there to do these crimes like they're little gangs. And this is a new thing that started to, I mean, I don't know how new it is, but it is in Burlington anyway. It's a pretty new thing that I'm hearing now. Is adult influence a major issue for this situation?
100%, a hundred
Yeah.
percent.
Yeah.
And again, starts at home. Like I said, the majority of the youth, and I'm just speaking about the vulnerable youth, the
Yeah.
marginalized youth that I am speaking about,
Yeah.
right? When, again, you're born into an environment. You're usually not born in, you know, middle class, upper
Hmm.
class neighborhoods. You tend to be around people who are suffering from the same systematic issues as you
Mm,
are.
mhm,
And then, we'll get into Haiti because no matter what we think we have bad here, that's a next level out there.
mm,
And at least I say in Canada, we do have services, we do have resources for you to, at some point, be able to comprehend that, wait, I there's services, there's people, there's help. And then
mm,
hopefully go to seek that help. But yes, definitely. I mean, if you right here in Hamilton, Ontario, where I teach, the school that I'm currently teaching at, the neighborhoods. It's in a rough part of the city. People barely have enough money to pay rent.
mm,
So food becomes, a necessity. And I am not lying to you. When I first started Help Heal Humanity, our main mission was education.
mm,
I'm struggling because it's really hard to get donations. And now we have to focus on nutrition because kids, and I'm not just talking about in Haiti, I'm talking about right here in Hamilton and in Burlington, maybe not Burlington, Toronto, but I'm talking people have just enough money maybe to live, but then you have no money for food. So
mm,
what are you going to do? You need food. And somebody says, go beat up that boy for his running shoes and I'll give you $50. Your
mm,
mom your mom has no money, your little baby sister and brother has no money. All of a sudden, you become an adult at 10 years old, and the only thing you know how to do is to go and maybe, rob somebody or
mm.
take something from somebody or, do again, commit a crime that you don't really want to commit, but you feel like you have no other way.
Mm.
You have no hope. When you have no resources, what else are you going to do?
This is the real life like movie scenario that we see all the time where the teacher goes into the thing and there's like the kids are all kind of bad kids and nobody gives them the time of day and this is the last ditch effort for those teachers. It's just a very inspiring story. I guess I have before we kind of move on to sort of the next section of this, I have a question. Why? What puts you what makes Serena, what switch is flipped in Serena's brain that's like, this is what I'm gonna do? Like what was the moment? There must have been like an aha moment where I was like, where you were like, this is my calling.
There were a few, but I mean, first and foremost, I feel like if I wasn't raised on unconditional love, I wouldn't be where I am today. However, I didn't really excel in school. I struggled with reading and writing,
Mm,
and because academically, I didn't fully understand what my teacher was asking me to do when I was in
mm,
primary school.
mm,
I would act out. I would act out,
mm,
and I would be like, I, shut up, you're stupid. I don't know. I would just do something inappropriate, usually to get myself kicked out of class.
mm,
I knew from my own personal experience, right, that when kids are acting out, when they're misbehaving, when they're screaming, yelling, punching, biting, throwing,
mm,
that behavior is masking a problem.
mm,
I knew that if I was going to become a teacher, which is what my mom wanted me to do, that I was going to become a teacher that I always wish I had.
mm.
Instead of a teacher whom I wish we had more than a half an hour, whom instead of out of class actually took the time to understand why I was doing what I was doing or why I was misbehaving. So,
Mhm,
from my own personal journey of not really enjoying academics or education to overcoming every single fear and insecurity I had, to then saying, okay, if I can do this, I can teach somebody else how to do this.
mm,
A little bit of my own personal story, and it was giving back to youth. But then, like I said, it snowballed into something much greater than myself, much greater
mhm.
than my classroom, and it is continuously, growing and advancing, and it blows my mind, Justin. I'm going to cry. I was that student that was kicked out of class, that was told I was never going to amount to anything. And obviously, I did, do what I had to do to get to where I am today. But the fact that I'm here advocating for education, for human rights, for people to just be kind, it's it brings me to tears because again, that's being disciplined, being resilient, overcoming your fears, and taking steps every day to be a better person. And so, if I can do it, if the students in my classroom can do it, you. I don't know what your excuse is, but let's go. Like, come on, because I'm gonna put you in your place a little bit because Justin, through experience, I 100% believe that whatever we set our mind to,
Mm,
whatever it is, and you just take a little bit of steps every day to
mm,
do that. And even if that step is a complete failure, it's still teaching you something to do and it's a new way of doing it.
mm.
So, whatever you set your mind to, I truthfully believe you can do. And I think that that's what my mission in life is to teach people how to think good thoughts, how to have positive, goals, how to take steps every day to achieve them. And then, like I said, in not only healing yourself and your families and your communities, we're literally healing humanity. And I do believe it kind of begins with, being of service as well.
I think some of the greatest gifts that have come to this planet are people like you, quite frankly, because we don't have enough of them. I think the world is increasingly selfish and self-centered, and we think about ourselves a lot. And we might donate here and there just to make ourselves feel good about ourselves, but there are people like you who we've interviewed over the last few weeks as well, because there's been a few charities we've had conversations with that genuinely exude and just have this emotional connection and attachment with their organization, that they believe so wholeheartedly in it. And it just, you know it brings me immense joy to share your message, quite frankly, because if it's a small piece that I can do to help, then it makes me feel good that we've at least made the world a little bit better today, you know.
Well, we need to raise a little bit more funds to open up our school in Haiti.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So you did mention Haiti. Why don't we dive into that a little bit? What's going on down there?
Oh my goodness, Justin. So again, I'm not naive to the injustices in the world. I choose to put myself in the 10% of the population most people don't really want to engage with. So when my students and we would feed the homeless every Tuesday faithfully. When we were coming back from feeding the homeless on a Tuesday afternoon in Toronto at the TTC, they have the City Pulse 24 running all
Yep.
the time.
Yep.
They me looking at that TV and I got a little bit emotional, and Miss B is like silly, funny, animated, like
Yeah.
goofy. So
Yeah. Yeah.
me upset. It takes a lot to upset me. So they're
Right.
like, Miss, how are you upset? And I said to them, I'm like, you guys think you have it bad? The stupid police and the stupid group home and the stupid school and the hospital and all the things that you guys hate. They're like, yep. I'm like, there are kids in the world like these kids, and I'm pointing to the TV to the devastating earthquake in
Mhm.
Haiti. It happened in 2010. It was one of the biggest earthquakes to hit the planet, and it hit one of the poorest countries in the world.
Mhm.
But that's all I knew about
Mm.
Haiti, and that's all I knew. Like that's all I knew. And I said, so there are kids like these kids in Haiti who just, have nothing.
Yeah.
That would be your situation.
Mm.
Justin, I'm not lying to you. My students looked at me and they said, Miss B, you tell us every day we can do anything we set our mind to. Let's set our mind to building a school for the children of Haiti. And just like that, I had no idea what I was doing, how it was going to unfold, but I said, let's do this. And within weeks, I was on a plane and I flew to Haiti. And I'm going to cry
That's
because
amazing.
nothing in this world could have prepared me. And it's been 15 years later, and nothing still can make sense in my head that a place like that exists in the world today.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it blows my mind. And I remember going to Haiti, and again, I was just like, "What is going on?" It's almost like you don't even know. I just like kind of rolled up my sleeves and was like, "Okay, what are we doing?"
Mm.
And it took a lot for my students and I to fundraise. We don't have parents we can send letters home to and say help us.
Mm.
So we had to get really smart and go to the community and ask for help. But when I arrived in Haiti, you're talking 8, 10 million people at that time back then, literally living, no running water, no electricity, no food, no infrastructure. There's no roads, like
Mm,
there's no hospitals, there's no schools. It is the most bizarre thing I have ever seen and experienced in my life. And again, like I could not see what I saw and be okay with that. And
mm,
so, of course, what my students and I had in mind, which was to build a little school to help a handful of kids, just like us in Toronto. It turned into a big school, 3 levels, hundreds of kids, communities. Instead of 20,000, it was, 350,000. I'm like, who is going to do this? But again, I just it's like I don't know how else to describe it. It's kind of like I just stepped outside myself and allowed myself to be used for the greater good of others, and in particular for that and many communities in Haiti. And it's 15 years later,
mm,
Justin, and I wish I could say that it's getting better, but it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I
mm,
will say in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, Help Heal Humanity is one of the very, very few organizations that still has our schools open,
mm,
operating, and running. And when I say that and people listen, and then we just like get on to the next thing, that is insane. Like people are messaging me on a daily. How are your doors open? How are you even operating? How are you doing this? And it's
mm.
15 years of service, 15 years of showing up to that country, to those communities, never giving up, putting my life, our team's life on the line so that we can help the people that we are helping. It's not enough, but it's the best that I think we can do for now.
So I have two questions then if it's not enough for you. So because I understand it's never enough for any of these charities out there, and we're always out there looking for more, and that's great. What is it we need? Like, so obviously money is one thing. I will put links below. I'm sure there's links in your website and things to be able to donate and stuff like that. Yes.
.org. Help
Say that again because you cut out a little bit and want to make sure it gets out there.
help heal humanity.org.
Perfect. So we're going to put that below. But also, is there room for physical
Yeah,
volunteer work?
100%. Donations obviously are the only thing that is stopping us from being able to give more, to help more. But it's not just in Haiti. To all you local Burlington Hamiltonians in Ontario,
Arians. Yeah.
right? I am right here in Hamilton. Most of our team is in, Hamilton, Toronto. We have local programming. So yes, we are in Haiti, but we're also here in Ontario. So we do after school programs for vulnerable youth. We help our unhoused friends during the holidays. We in particular help women in shelters and kids in shelters. So if it's not a physical monetary donation that you can give, then maybe you can give your time, your energy. Maybe you can join our team depending on what your skills are, because we are always looking to grow our team. So if you want to be a part of our actual team, you can volunteer to be a team member. You can volunteer to be on the grounds in Hamilton and Toronto, especially during the holiday season, going out into communities and giving love. And or you can just help spread the word. You can join us for third party fundraising. Justin, I could talk forever and I can give people all the reasons why they should go to Help Heal Humanity. There are no paid employees, including myself. And I'm going to say that. So, like, your dollars are going directly to the projects that you want to donate to. And you know how hard it is to run an organization just in general, let alone volunteer based, no paid employees. So, I mean, the people that are showing up are people who have a big heart, who have lots of skills, and want to give back. So, if you want to give back, and I'm telling you, in giving back, a lot comes back to you. If you want to give back, go to helphealhumanity.org, send me a message, join our newsletter, follow us on social media, and I promise you, there is something there for you and for us to do together.
What are the next steps for you? What does the next few years look like? Any big things happening? Any
Most
events happening? What are you doing? Tell me.
definitely, you guys are fine. So health and wellness are one of the ways that we raise a lot of money. So in Burlington, we have Elite Performance Center. It's a big gym in Burlington. They're going to do an event for us. We have Power Yoga doing some yoga events for us. Um, we have some dinner events coming up, and then again, some school programs coming up. So the next 3 to 5 years, again, are expanding our programs locally here in Ontario. And then in Haiti, we would love be to continue running our programs. We have our elementary school, high school, we have 3 computer technology labs. So not only would we love to be able to continue running them,
Mm,
but again, it's very easy for us to expand them if we
mm,
had the funds to do it. So,
mm,
HHH is not going anywhere. Like you said, it's a way of life. It's a way of being kind, giving back, using yourself to, impact and empower people. Um, that's what we do.
Do you
So
have a moment, just to summarize it all, that or a story that has been the most inspiring thing that's kind of happened to you over the entire time of you building this thing up?
a story, I don't know. Every minute is a story. I I think again, like Haiti, I love the work that I do as a teacher and educator. I do get paid to, go to work every day. So it's my calling, it's my profession, it's what I love. But my profession got me into the world, into places like Haiti, Belize, Cambodia, you know, Nicaragua, and the ghettos, the slums, the marginalized communities, and to be able to walk into these communities and to see the way these people live is probably the most inhumane thing I've ever seen.
Mm,
But to see these people wake up every day smiling, motivated, inspired, they have absolutely nothing. What we would, especially for us, we wouldn't classify the few things that they have as things that are big possessions to us.
mm.
And and if they can wake up every day happy, determined, inspired, what the hell is wrong with us? And I can give you story after story. I When I'm showing up in Haiti, I'm having lineup of people who want to come and talk to me, showing me their injuries, showing me what's wrong with them, asking me for help. I could go on forever, having a baby almost die in my arms and rushing to the hospital, and the hospital looks at me like we have no electricity, so you you have to let that baby die in your arms.
Jesus.
There's no for the machine. You
Right.
know, I can't tell you, in our school program last year, 17 kids died of starvation, died
Jesus.
of starvation. These are kids that have been in our program for 8, 9 years, and we don't have enough money to send them the amount of nutrition that they need to be okay.
Mm,
So, Justin, I have a lot of stories due to confidentiality here in Ontario. I'm
mm.
not
That's
stories.
okay. I get it. I get it.
There's some powerful stories about educating and inspiring the youth in my classroom and the ways in which we did it that again are I can't say out loud. But then on the other end, my classroom bringing me into the world, if any, and being able to bring. I do volunteer groups to Haiti. I do volunteer groups, obviously locally, um, just to be able to bring people into the environments that I choose to surround myself in every day, and to see how one day, 1 hour, sometimes 2 minutes on the fields in the communities will transform your life. So I always say, in helping others, we're really helping ourselves, because when we see what's happening, when we really see what is happening in the world and what is happening in our own backyard, it's like a slap in the face,
Mm,
because your life and your problems that you think are are nothing in the grand scheme of things. So,
mm.
that's it. Have a powerful mind. Your mind determines everything that you do. And so, if you don't know where to begin with having a powerful mind, a positive mind, again, reach out to me. Help Heal
Yeah.
Humanity. Send me a message. because I think, I will be evolving out of the classroom and into the world. And again, health and wellness, how, how, how to live a good, healthy life.
That's amazing. No, so I will say we're kind of pushing up against the time. We could talk for another hour, but um, I will say this, again, we've had a lot of people on in the last few weeks that have done similar things in different avenues and different things based on their passions. And this seems to be one that, you know, we need more of a default setting for this for sure. We need more people to kind of get behind healing the world and being more, friendly to the rest of the world. You're right. I mean, the fact that you're almost out of gas and whatever on the way to the store, those problems don't matter, like they really don't. There's people that don't have the food to eat, the education to live, the things to allow them to flourish as human beings. And so on that note, and I'm sure you are not here for this, you are not doing this for what I'm about to say, but and I'm sure the people that you help are incredibly grateful and show their thanks in their own way. But from a member of humanity, society, I thank you genuinely for being you, because you are helping create a path and a light forward, and not only just for yourself and those people you're helping, but also like to be able to incorporate our children into that messaging and allow them to inspire you that way is on another level. Like I can't even explain to you what that means to the world, quite frankly, because you're now inspiring a whole other group of kids to do what you're doing, or sort of teaching them that new default setting for them, right? Which is what we're kind of, this is the circle back to the original comment of, you're helping create a new default setting for the planet. And that is commendable and deserves respect and deserves a thank you. So even though you don't care and you don't want it and it doesn't matter to you, you're going to do it anyway. We thank you. So, cause you're just so incredibly inspiring and we appreciate you. So
Thank you.
thank you.
You're going to sponsor one of the students that needs sponsoring, Justin, and maybe some of the listeners. I'm going to challenge the listeners. Please, 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 please sponsor a student. I promise you, you will not regret it.
Well, we will take it offline and figure all that out. And yeah, like let's do something. Let's figure it out and let's get some help going. So thank you. Appreciate you. And we will talk to you soon. Thanks everybody for listening.
Okay.
Hang on. Just click.